everyone, very good morning. You've tuned into Market Fatafat on ET now with me, Mubina Kapasi. Markets are taking a bit of a breather. We seem to be just about flattish today in trade after the great rally that we've been seeing for the last 3 trading sessions. So just a bit of red seen on the screen, but at this point of time, nothing too perturbing. Let me now bring on board our guests for today, as well as our research team. Himen Kapari of KR Choksi Securities joins in to flag off the technical moves he's observing in individual stocks. And we also have from the research team, Varun and Soumya. Morning, everyone. And I suppose the first stock has got to be the results candidate, Wipro. We have with us Sunita Nagpal, who tracks the IT sector very, very closely, to talk about what exactly the ET Now poll is suggesting as to what one should watch out for when it comes to Wipro. Hi, Sunita. You know, ahead of the numbers, we are seeing some green on the screen for the stock price of Wipro. But yes, what are we expecting in terms of bottom line revenue and, more importantly, guidance for Wipro?
Wipro will be announcing its numbers post-market hours, and we are expecting it to post 1.8% growth sequentially in constant currency term, which is basically in the midpoint of what they had guided. Remember, in the last quarter, they had said that Q3 growth will be 0.8 to 2.8%. So we are expecting 1.8% growth in constant currency. There will be benefits of cross currency. So as a result, you will see the dollar revenue growth of roughly about 2.3%. That's what we are expecting. EBIT margins are expected to be flattish. Some benefit will come because of the rupee depreciation as well as cross-currency benefits that will be there. The company has completed its buyback, and that would lead to treasury income being lower. So that's why we are expecting the net profit will be lower than the previous quarters. We are expecting roughly 4% kind of drop in the net profit for Wipro to post in this quarter. But the main thing that we need to watch out is what they guide for Q4. Remember, Q4 is seasonally a strong quarter. Analysts are expecting them to guide anywhere between 0.5 to 2.5% sequentially. That's the expectation. If anything below this is guided, this could lead to disappointment. Another thing that analysts will be focusing on, what is the outlook on the financial services vertical. Remember that vertical has been seeing some kind of sluggishness. There are a couple of clients which are facing challenging times. So that will be very, very important coming from Wipro management. What's the growth outlook from the top client? That will also be very important. And the margin trajectories, especially when there's the environment is challenging. So how the company sees the business, whether they can maintain the margins, that will be very important. But for now, we are expecting IT revenue growth of roughly about 2.3% in dollar terms. Consolidated revenue of growing by 2%, while the net profit will be lower 4%.
All right, Sunita, thanks a lot for that. Well, another company that's going to be releasing its third quarter numbers is IndusInd Bank. Varun, what's the ET Now poll suggesting?
Right, Mubina. So Q3 for IndusInd Bank today, fairly positive on the face of it. Good loan growth, good profit growth. No real red flags as far as that's concerned. We do want to look out for the asset quality though, and the NIMs which will be likely to improve on account of the MFI portfolio. We also have a real focus on credit cost here, so barring IL and FS and keeping that separate, we'll be looking at how the credit cost movement is happening. It should be fairly low. That being said, we expect around 1,000 crore slippage from them this quarter. So on the face of it, things are quite positive. Bharat Fin will obviously be aiding the growth as well. And the stock price reacted quite positively yesterday. It was up around 2.5% by the close of day. And it has appreciated almost 10% in the last month. So it looks like people are expecting some good things. The only potential dampener I could see here is the auto slowdown really hitting their CV book, which is huge. So that will be a key monitorable for them this quarter.
Okay, IndusInd Bank ahead of its numbers is down by about 0.25%. And one sector that we cannot keep our eyes off is the steel stocks. Look at the way all of them are rallying. In fact, Tata Steel is back above that 500 rupee mark. I think after very long, almost about 8 to 9 months later, we are seeing a Tata Steel gain beyond this 500 rupee mark. JSW Steel as well is at 281 rupees. So a nice uptick is what we are witnessing in all of these stocks. In fact, even some of the smaller cap steel names have been gaining very smartly. Not just Steel Authority of India, but even a Kalyani Steels that we haven't spoken about very often, among others. Now, do remember that the last couple of months, we've been seeing a rebound of sorts in steel prices. In fact, from what we understand, from channel checks, I think since November, roughly, steel companies have hiked prices by almost 8 to 9%, on a per ton basis. So that in itself is quite remarkable. Additionally, there seems to be buzz around there perhaps being more room for an up move for steel prices from here on as well, because there's data emanating from China. Plus, you have the impending US-China trade deal that will be signed off between today and tomorrow. So that as well could be an added trigger for especially international steel prices, and in turn Indian steel prices as well may see a bit of a rally. So now let's get in a technical opinion on stocks like these. Himen, a steel authority, I suppose it's a great mover after being extremely quiet for the most part of, last year. Back at 51 rupees. Anything that you'd like to observe or recommend traders could do over here?
A very good morning to you, Mubina. Like you mentioned, metals, especially steel, seems to be the flavor for some time. Everything is fine with sale. The technical outlook has changed. We are in a short medium, and I think what is possibly a longer term uptrend. Further upside, very much possible. But it's moved almost 35-40% in the last few weeks. That's not a criteria to disqualify it, but that's why it's not a buy, but it's a hold. Stop loss 49, target 55. The bigger picture has also improved.
Okay, that's Himen's recommendation on a steel authority. Okay, moving on, Soumya, Religare Enterprises. It's important news coming in over here. Take our viewers through that.
Well, yes, Mubina, in fact, we had a bulk deal yesterday wherein Ashish Kacholia has bought close to about 40 lakh shares at a price of 44 rupees per share. In fact, that amounts to close to about 17.6 crore as a total shelling from him. Not just this, in fact, Mukul Agarwal has also bought in shares close to about 26 lakh at the same price, with the seller being Axis Bank selling close to about 90 lakh shares, while IndusInd Bank sold 25 lakh shares. So a buying by this value investor has definitely got the attention of the investors on this stock. Currently, it's trading 5% higher and it's locked in upper circuit.
All right, Religare is locked in upper circuit as we speak, 5% of gains. And Varun, another stock that's gaining very smartly is India Cements. What's the trigger here?
Right, Mubina, gaining really smartly today on some positive news of a major investor upping their stake in the counter, and none other than Mr. Radhakishan Damani. He originally had around 1.3% stake in the company. Now, what's happened is today we've looked at the most recent quarterly filings and figured out that he's actually upped his stake by around 3.5 odd percent, somewhere around there. So that takes his total holding to just under 5%. So obviously a huge endorsement coming in. Any counter the size of India Cements, being one of the smaller cement counters, would definitely get excited by this kind of investor entering, and that's what's spurring the stock upwards today.
Okay, great move seen in India Cements again on the back of a prominent name upping his stake in the company. Okay, moving on, Himen, anything that you'd like to recommend on a Bank of Baroda?
Most of the PSU banks, maybe with the exception of State Bank, hasn't done anything much, Mubina. So I would say sell on bounce if there is a shorter term or a medium term view. We've been showing a little bit of weakness in the short and medium term. Overall, it's been range bound for the past 6 weeks or so. So I know it's very far away, but unless we take out 107, stocks seem to be going nowhere. So shorter term view, it's a sell on bounce.
All right, BOB is at this point of time absolutely flat. Okay, one stock that's really buzzing today in trade is PSU major Hindustan Aeronautics, or HAL. Third straight day of a rally that we are seeing. In fact, just in the last 2 trading sessions, it has surged almost 17%. 850 rupees is where it's trading at, which puts the stock at a 52-week high, on the exchanges. Remember that ICRA as well, by the way, has assigned a long-term rating of double A, and a short-term rating of A1 plus for the company's bank facilities with a stable outlook. Now, the news flow recently for HCL is not exactly positive, because from what we understand and what ET has reported is that Navy chopper orders for HCL are unlikely to go through. There may be, however, jet order on the cards. Remember, the Navy is shortlisting 4 domestic companies that would be eligible to tie up with 3 shortlisted foreign vendors. Now, it looks like the Defence Ministry is likely to remove HCL from this 21,000 crore rupee project, and this has in turn been reserved for the private sector. This, of course, was the latest news flow for HCL, but it's a nice 17% surge that we have witnessed, in the last 2 trading sessions. I suppose it already does have that strong order pipeline. It's reflected in the unexecuted order book of more than 58,000 crore rupees as it stood at as on March 2019, and plus we do know that the government as well wants to increase its focus on indigenization with this whole Make in India policy, establishment of defence corridors, the mandatory offset policy for defence procurement by Government of India, etc., etc. And we also did have an ET report that maybe there is a mega order coming, in the 83 new light combat aircraft in the coming week. So that may in turn be another added trigger. Stock at 52-week high. And Soumya, another stock that's gaining smartly is All Cargo.
Well, yes, and in fact, this is the 4th straight session that the stock seeing gains. In fact, yesterday we had a news wherein Blackstone was investing close to about 380 crore rupees in All Cargo's warehousing business, and ever since then, the stock has been on an uptrend, gaining close to about 6 to 7% in the last 2 days. Well, in fact, talking about this deal, this will be done through the mix of debt and equity, and this transaction is expected to complete in the next 12 months. Well, this partnership will definitely help All Cargo in growing their third-party logistics business, and this is all definitely a really positive for All Cargo, and that's the reason we're seeing this smart uptick coming in the stock.
Okay, so that's of course All Cargo for you with 3% higher today in trade. All right, and Hemen, let's talk about an ITC. Anything that you'd like to recommend traders could do here?
Yes, I think it looks good. It warrants a buy, Mubina. The entire FMCG pack has at least posted a short-term bottom, probably to take a call on the medium term. But one can buy ITC with a stop loss of 238, target 247. We moved up into a shorter-term uptrend, deeply oversold, recovering. The daily mechanical indicators have given crossover buys after reflecting positive divergence. So I guess the short-term outlook has turned positive. Maybe it converts in the medium, but short-term, buy.
Okay, 241 for ITC. It's just about near the day's high. Okay, what's the RWI small case doing meantime as the Nifty and the Sensex see extremely quiet moves, more or less flattish actually? Is there any marked movement in RWI? Well, yes, there is. In fact, it's crossed the 590 mark, 1/3% higher. So you could say that there is a bit of an outperformance over there. Now we'll take a very short breather right here on Market Fatafat. Do come right back. Welcome back. You're watching Market Fatafat on ET. Now let's continue with our countdown very quickly. Then, Soumya, Delta Corp, how are the third quarter numbers?
Well, talking about the revenues, they were pretty much flat at 205 crore rupees. Profits saw an uptick of just around 9% on the operational front. The EBITDA stood at 79 crore versus an 85.6 crore. So there was a downward momentum here, and margins are also compressed from 41.7% to 38.5% on a YOY basis. So basically, there was this casino which contributes close to about 12% to the capacity, was under maintenance, and as a result was not operational for almost 25 days of the Q3, and this definitely impacted the overall financials of the company and particularly the revenue, and hence the street is really not kind of happy with the set of numbers they have posted. The stock's down close to about 3.2%.
Okay, so that's Delta. It's sub the 200 rupee mark as a reaction to the third quarter numbers. Now, shrimp stocks, we continue to see traction in the pricing of these companies today as well in trade. Put your finger on any of them and they're gaining. They've really been great wealth creators for, investors across the time frame that they've invested in. Avanti now is at 640. Apex Frozen. Even a small cap company like a Waterbase, it could be called as a micro cap company essentially, is as well gaining extremely smartly. The November month-end data was pretty promising. We had a 40% surge in exports on a year-on-year basis. So demand is growing. Pricing as well is stable, I suppose. It's ticking all the boxes, and that's the reason why the traction in the pricing of these stocks continues. Okay, and Varun, why are you flagging off CSB for our viewers today?
So it's just quite an interesting little proposition because while it functions like a bank, 65 to 70% of the loans offered by Catholic Syrian Bank are gold loans. So if you look at the other two listed peers on the exchange, Muthoot and Manappuram, both are, fairly high up there in their valuations, and they're both at the upper end of their valuations, close to the 52-week high, or in their cases, even the lifetime high. Now, in this scenario, you have CSB, which is also, like I said, in the same segment, but has tapered off considerably. On listing date, there was a 50% gain that took it to around 300 rupees. Now it's erased all of that, reversed completely, and come back to the issue price of around 195 rupees. And there's been no structural change or no fundamental change in the portfolio or the bank. So we're just flagging it off as an arbitrage opportunity in gold, which is nearing its 7-year high, and it's nearing, in fact, lifetime high all over the world. So when this asset is appreciating, CSB offers a fair arbitrage opportunity if you look at Manappuram and Muthoot. So just flagging it off on that basis today.
All right, just a percent of losses seen for CSB. Samya, what's the news with respect to IOC?
Well, this one's in focus on back of a TY report which suggests that the company and its management are actually weighing the pros and cons and advantages and disadvantages of actually buying BPCL. Well, definitely, apart from this, the report also mentions that the management says that the country at this point of time needs a lot of capex for oil and gas infrastructure. But if IOC is made to buy this BPCL, this might actually fill their appetite, and they might not be able to go for capacity expansion as of now. So definitely it's not really a very positive development, but I think the entire street is watching out as to what the outcome is, and we will all be seeing, and the street is actually particularly awaiting what the outcome of divestment of BPCL leads to.
Yeah, well, if this essentially happens, it's again going to be one hand giving it to the other. But this is, of course, a report-based story, not independently verified by us. Okay, Heyman, GAIL or Gas Authority has been seeing a lot of momentum in the recent few days. There was that buzz with respect to AGR, but again, it's another day of gain seen for GAIL at 130 rupees. What's your view?
Everything is hunky-dory, but the fact that we moved up for 6 weeks in a row from 111, we walked into a stiff medium-term resistance at 133.5. So I would say prudent to book some profit. It's not a short though. Two things. Slightly overbought, has had a superb run-up, is close to a major resistance level. So partial profit.
Okay, GAIL is, by the way, just about near the day's low, 0.7% of gains left now here. Now, Radico Khaitan as well is a stock that's been seeing a tremendous amount of traction. It's the 6th straight day that we are seeing gains for Radico Khaitan. It's now currently trading about the 355 rupee mark, 1% of gains today as well. And with this, the stock is actually at the highest level since May 2019. Do remember, we've been talking about United Spirits and how the news flow there's not exactly positive because a lot of foreign brands are entering and essentially grabbing market share. But that's really not being reflected in the way the stock is moving for Radico Khaitan, because this one just simply continues its upward momentum, unperturbed by the news flow that especially seems to be surrounding USL. Okay, moving on, Varun, Deepak Fertilizers, what's the news over here?
So we've been flagging this one off quite a bit, not this one specifically, but the fertilizer sector, because the budget's coming up and all the reform, DBT, gas prices also offering some raw material comfort to these players. But apart from this, in the most recent development, apart from the fact that Deepak is also really on a crucial turning point, you have a land parcel which has been divested today. So the company clearly said asset monetization is something they're looking at. 100 crore parcel has been sold off. The filing has come to the exchanges. That's why that stock's buzzing today, and it should do a fair bit to augment their working capital and meet any future capex needs in the near term, while the fertilizer sector is plagued by high receivables, etc. And in the pack, this is also fairly undervalued fertilizer stocks, also a great pick in general amongst brokerages and analysts.
Okay, so that's then Deepak Fertilizers. It's a nice 5% surge seen today. Soumya, Tata stocks, all of them are gaining. In particular, Tata Global. What are you observing here?
Well, this is the sixth straight session when the stocks on an up move. In fact, even today as we speak, it's gaining close to about 6%. In fact, yesterday we had an update wherein NCLT had actually approved the scheme of arrangement between Tata Chemicals and Tata Global. Well, just to inform, Tata Global and Tata Chemical demerger is expected to be completed by Q4 as of by 20. And in fact, the street is actually really positive and bullish of the entire how the things would pan out post this merger. In fact, apart from this, even Starbucks had made their first ever profit in 6 years since their entry in India. So it's really a very interesting space, an interesting company to watch out for. In fact, there has been a lot of change in the leadership post, so everyone's actually watching out what the company and their strategy and the new leadership's strategy would be in order to boost growth in the company.
All right, so that's Tata Global, 374 rupees, a great gain seen over there. But with that, we're out of time, so we'll have to call it a day on this edition of Market Fatafat. Heyman, thanks so much for joining in. Varun and Soumya, to you as well. Stay tuned to ET now because we have Markets at Noon coming up next.